Well, I didn't really start on music industry. I started to play guitar, and one thing led to another, and here I am. I worked on a record label, Universal Music's sub-label Spine Farm. For the last 4 or 5 years, I produced and mixed an albums, recorded them. It was kind of a coincidence. I just wanted to play guitar because I like to play guitar. There was nothing. I was supposed to be a hockey player. I still am a little bit. So it all just kind of like, we founded a band, we got some shows, we got record deal, we got on tours, and one thing just led to another. But I didn't really, I'm gonna start in the music industry. I just loved playing, and I still love just playing guitar. That's it. I'm a hockey player. That's my background. I started to play hockey when I was 6. I started to play guitar when I was 13, and I was supposed to be a professional hockey player. I played on top national level in Finland until I was like 19, 20. And then I went to an army, and then I played on the lower divisions. And after several injuries later, the guitar playing, which was my hobby, had I started to pay more interest to that and really practice and take lessons. So I was over 20, so I'm a pretty late bloomer when it comes to this thing. I consider myself being a hockey player who plays a bit of guitar, makes albums by producing, recording, mixing them, playing on them, but at the heart, I'm a hockey guy. Back in 2019 or 20, when COVID started, we had released our second album, No Hells in Hell with Siren. We had done a 2-month European tour with Battle Beast. We had done 1 week in Sweden, 1 week in Finland, 1 week in UK on our own. I think Norway too, and everything was supposed to continue. Tours coming, the album was doing great, and then COVID hit, and all of a sudden my fully booked calendar for that year was wiped off. And I was like, what am I gonna do? And it was actually my wife who suggested that, because I was watching usually I watch hockey on YouTube, but I was watching some guitar stuff. I was like, man, these quite a lot of views, and some of them are not really good, or they don't really know what they're talking about. And then my wife was just like, well, what are you whining about? Do it yourself then. I was like, well, yeah, I'm gonna do it. No idea, I've never filmed anything, never edited. I knew music then, but when I looked my first videos, I just put an iPhone on the table and filmed. I didn't have no clue how to edit or whatever. It was just, but you learn by doing. When you do something 10,000 times, you're getting decent at it. So, that's how it started. Yeah, if it sounds good, it's good. It's as simple as that. When I started the YouTube, I was actually surprised how much people cared about the amp settings and gear. Like, what are my amp settings? Well, they are what they currently are. If it sounds good, it's good. I don't care if it's old school tube amp from the 80s or plug-in of that amp. What I'm interested in is the end result, not how I got there, not what gear I used. Sometimes a sound that can be horrible on its own might just be the best sound for that particular production, for that particular part. There's no wrong or right way to use gear. There's no rules. The only rule is, if it sounds good, it's good. The good old bad boy. The story is, back in the 90s, these didn't cost much. I think I paid 300 euros for Bad Boy. They weren't just fashionable then, and I loved them. Boss ST1 Marshall 800, if you can't get a good sound out of that, the reason is in the restroom's mirror. I think I had like 5 or 6 the most at the same time, because they were so cheap. At some point I sold all the others and just kept the Bad Boy and the Little Brother. They just were and are the best JCM 800s I've ever played, and I played hundreds of them. So when I was in Shining, we used live real amps, Imaginum cabinets, but it was always rented gear, because we do tour in the USA. I'm not gonna fly my amps to USA or Europe, so it was always rented amps, and I had a 800 usually. There's something wrong, because the master I have it on 1, but it's as loud as my 50 on 50. The master is at no, because this is on-off switch. Either there's nothing, or then there's, and the more you turn it, it just adds more power to saturation. A little bit same with the preamp gain. There's more gain on your normal 800s, but it's not mudded as far as I know. And the more you turn it, and the sweet spot to me is around 2 o'clock. After that, it just gets fuzzy and furry. Originally, it had EO34s, and I've read that many of the amps that were shipped to USA back in the 80s had 6550s, and some people really like those amps, like Zach Wild. Kerry King, I think he used KG88s, but it's pretty close. 10 years ago or something, I just asked the amp to be muddied, because something needs to be done for the 6550s to work. So I asked Tech in Finland to do that, and the low end became kind of clear. It became even more punchier than it was. So I was like, yeah, this is great. You know, I rented these amps back in the day because they were special. They are special. I don't want to name any bands or players, but big time bands player, when they came to Finland, they requested 800, and then when they got mine, they were like, whoa. And one particular player from a legendary band, they always just rent it because it was cheaper to rent than bring, because they knew that they will get the bad boy. For example, a couple of times he wanted to buy this from me. Basically anyone who has played with this wants to buy it. One time they were coming to Finland, and I got a call from Backlash Rental. Hey, okay, they're coming again, and he requested that Bad Boy 800. Oh, I guess he's talking about. After that, it became Bad Boy, thanks to that particular guitar player. And it's special. I've used it for anything. I've recorded blues, country, black metal, heavy metal, modern metal, everything with it, because it just amplifies my sound so well. So yeah, it's a simple amp, one channel, but it can do it all if you command it. Honestly, I was blown away when Bogren, you guys sent me the demo version. It was just like, this is my amp. Wow. There's only a couple of controls, but the volume control on it acts the same than when I turn the preamp or the master up. It gets louder, more gainier. At some point, it just gets fuzzy, like this thing. The volume knob on the plugin, exactly like that. And then the overdrive, it's this particular one. This is the second pedal I ever bought. The first one was Boss HM2 Heavy Metal. This has been around the world a few times. So this is modeled with my usual settings. And the cabinets, what I have here in my studio, I have a Marshall vintage cab with Marshall vintage speakers, Marshall's V30s. It has G75s also. Then I have a BX cabinet with 25-watt greenbacks and EVH greenbacks. And then I have an oversized Mesa with V30s. And those three cabinets, you get those from the plugin, which is great. And the delay there is great. You can either have it mono or ping pong, what I usually use. And then many times I blend in the reverb with the delay just to soften up the delay chairs, especially if you're using the ping pong. So it can be a little bit tuck tuck tuck. When you blend in the reverb, it becomes smoother. Yesterday I mixed one Syra song, and the rhythm guitars are with the real deal, but the other lead guitars, everything else, it's the plugin. So yeah, it stacks. Well, I've done albums or recordings since mid-90s. I was always interested, because I used to be a session player in Finland too. So I've done, I don't know how many studio sessions I've done, and I always was interested what the engineers were doing. I actually still have notes from the 90s, from the sessions, what was used, what compressor and why. But I never kind of considered, I always hired, you know, recording or mixing engineer to my bands, because I just considered myself being a hockey player who plays guitar. I've always heard the music in my head, how it sounds finished. Like even from the first demos, I hear it in my head. And then at some point I just started to do that, practice. Because I have the Pro Tools sessions of several albums I've done. I've asked them, can I have the session? I want to study. So I had those like Syra sessions, older stuff, and I just started to mix that to get the sound from my head out from the speakers. And then at some point I just realized that, yeah, I get it. I know this. Because again, do something 10,000 times, you're very decent at it. Then I just kind of mixed and produced my own stuff, but then because of the YouTube, I started to put out some of those mixing tutorials and the intro songs on my videos. People were asking, who has produced and mixed these? I was like, me. And bands started to contact me, like, hey, would you want to mix our stuff? And I was like, yeah, I never really thought about it that much, but sure. And now I have mixed plenty of bands from all over the world, and produced bands from Switzerland, mixed bands from USA, Germany, Mexico, Finland, Sweden. I've actually mixing 2 Swedish bands' albums at the moment. And you learn by doing. That's it, really. Yeah, YouTube is definitely not everything what I'm up to. It's the thing I'm up to when I have time, which luckily, because it has given me so much. You know, the community, the fans, and the mixing and production jobs. But yeah, that's not my main thing. So I usually have a few days a month when I have time to film something, and then I just film stuff and edit it as I go along. Currently, I am playing Syra, you know, which we founded back in 2016, I believe, or 17. So that's my main band, and we've been releasing singles throughout this year, 25, and the next single is actually when I'm filming this, it's out tomorrow. But when you see this, it's definitely out already. And then I have my solo career. I've been releasing 3 solo albums. My latest one is called Heart Tones, which is kind of like 80s and 90s influence. It has different vocalists on all songs, and I've done some shows. I will release a 4th solo album at some point when I have time. I have already collected some songs for it. Back in the day, I played on many different artists' albums. Like I played the Banjo and Chiller of Bodoms cover album, the CCR cover. I played all the acoustic guitars on Ensiferum's Victory songs, I think it was, and plenty of stuff. Every once in a while I do that too, because now I can record here. Last summer, 24, we did a sort of a comeback tour with our band called Suburban Tribe. But yeah, Syra, my solo thing, that's what I do. Cheers.